Hi there, I'm Prajnaketu, and this is my fourth rough and ready video on the Essentials of Sangha online. And in this video, I'm going to pose and attempt to answer what I think is a crucial question for Sanghas at this particular time, which is, given that there are some really fantastic Dharma teachers out there, certainly much better than me, who are producing very, very high quality video, audio content, leading meditations and so on, and they're doing that at a rate which I can't keep up with. I can't even watch, let alone compete with in producing. So given all that, what is the role of a local Sangha now? What's the significance of a local Sangha for us now? Now, my tentative answer to that is dynamic Dharma discussions. In other words, meaningful contexts in which people can connect with one another, interact with one another on the basis of the Dharma, as opposed to being just a passive consumer of content. I think more than ever, people are really looking for that kind of interaction. And I believe this is one of the main things that we can offer as Sanghas. So for the next few minutes, I'm going to say something about what that might look like using Zoom, using the application Zoom. Okay, so firstly, in some ways, Dharma discussions are quite different online from what they might be in person. Facial expressions, gestures, the atmosphere of the room, you can't rely on, basically, in the same way. Also, the environment is perhaps a bit more distracting for people, at least the environment that they're in physically, as well as the other apps that might be on their devices. And also humour can be quite a bit trickier too, especially if there's a time delay or if somebody's internet connection is weak. It can be difficult to build up that rapport. One of the other things I've noticed is that people seem more reluctant to contribute to discussions in an online environment than they do in person, especially if the group is 5 or 6 or more. That said, Zoom does offer, or just being online in general, does offer certain benefits. So one of them is that people are physically likely to be in their own homes. So they'll be in a relaxed environment, an environment they've chosen to be in. They may even be wearing their pajamas. And there's something about that, the informality that brings to the occasion, which actually does the host a real favour, because it means you don't have to be slick, you don't have to be completely on top of things either. Even there can be a certain amount of slack given to you as a host, which it definitely will go in our favour. It certainly works in my favour. Also, Zoom is really cut out for this kind of thing. I can't think of a better platform to enable people to have these interactive discussions. Certainly in small groups, there's not a lot that a host has to do beyond encouraging people to use the gallery view and encouraging people to mute their microphone if they're in a noisy environment, or possibly even mute their microphone for them. You may have to do that too. For larger groups, the same is true, but there are lots of other handy features that Zoom offers. So things like breakout rooms that I've mentioned in another video. By the way, you can also join a breakout room. So you can say while you're setting it up, I'll come in and listen for a few minutes at a time to those groups. And they serve the kind of the pair section of the think, pair, share triad when you're doing reflection and contribution to discussions. So they can go into pairs or small groups and then feed back into the bigger discussion. Then you've got things like polling, which I've not used, but it's a way you can ask questions to the whole group and get real-time feedback. And then of course there's the text chat function as well, which means that at the very least people can write you a message or write other people a message and get that through to you. My general principle with running discussion groups on Zoom would be that the bigger the group, the more the host has to do. And that might be practically in terms of things like managing the participants, as I mentioned above, which a co-host can be very helpful in supporting you with. But it also means you have to say more. So you have to reiterate instructions that you've given. Sometimes you'll need to sort of stimulate the discussion and draw out people. My sense in general is that with Zoom discussion, we have to be prepared to take more of a lead in the discussion than we might do ordinarily in in-person discussions. And when it comes to stimulating the discussion, the old teacher's trick comes in really helpful, which is ask only one question at a time. Yes, have a clear question and ask only one question at a time. And also be patient for people to respond. As I say, my experience so far is that Sometimes you might be waiting for up to double the length of time you would normally do in person. But you know, this technology is still relatively new to people, or still relatively new to a lot of people, and getting comfortable with it will take a bit of time, I think. That said, all my other standard advice applies. So things like prepare your Dharma content well, so you've got some strong content. Make sure you check your video, audio, and the app settings before you attempt to do the session. And give clear instructions at every stage about what you expect from the participants. Finally, just to underline, the value of Dharma discussions online is supreme. I think for some people at the moment, having that meaningful context where you can talk about the Dharma with other people in real time, with video, with audio, it's a lifeline. So really, I would encourage you to use this as much as you can in your Sanghas. Okay, that's all from me for now. Love to you all. Take care.